Running 100 miles seems impossible, and maybe even kind of crazy. And it is, but we believe in big crazy dreams. That's why we ran 100 miles. It was such a life-changing experience for us, we decided to devote this podcast to preparing and inspiring you to run your first ultra race.
Are you ready to feel the highest highs and the lowest lows? Are you ready to do what you once thought was impossible? Are you ready for your trail to 100?
Thank you for joining us today here on Trail to 100, the podcast to help you finish your first 100-mile race. My name is Melody Bateman, and joined along with me is my wonderful, smart, handsome husband, Jacob Bateman.
Hey, guys.
And today is the OG podcast, just me and Jacob here, talking about our update. And
you want me to take over from you now? You've had your fun now.
Okay, you can take over now.
All right.
That was fun.
So Melody wanted to bring us in there. Anyways, a little bit of a change up there for the podcast. But like she was saying, we once a month we do a episode with just the two of us, in case you're new to the podcast, where we talk about our training, and then we also talk about our top lesson that we have been learning that month that we are applying to ultra running, which ultimately helps us finish our 100-mile races. So it is the month of March now, and here we are.
Happy birthday to me and Jacob.
Yeah, we both have March birthdays. So I love that month because it means we are coming it's my birthday, so who doesn't love their birthday month?
And Jacob's going to be 30.
Yeah, old man now. And we are coming out of the winter. You still will have cold days in March, but it will never be like a consistent, 20 straight days of cold. Most of the time, it's just a few days cold, and then you get a few days of some warm up weather.
The worst of it is behind us. Yeah.
There is a light at the end of the tunnel. So congrats, guys, for those of you who live in cold environments. We are making it out. Here we are updating on our training here. And you know what? How about we just roll to our lesson that we're learning first this month rather than go to the update and then to the lesson. Let's start off with
Let's go with the lesson, and we'll kind of give the update throughout.
So today, what we're going to talk about today is setbacks.
Dealing with setbacks.
Dealing with the setbacks in your training plans and in your ultra running journey. So first off, obviously you've just been going through a setback. You had a child and you had to have a surgery to get that child here where your abdominal muscles were cut in half. That's a huge setback for running, right?
Right.
We're talking about setbacks. I've been dealing with a setback. I've had a little bit of an injury plague me the last month. Now, as we were talking about dealing with setbacks and with ultra running and the best way to deal with them, the first thing that came to my mind, Melody, as I thought about my 5 years of ultra running now. Can you believe that? 5 years now we've been ultra running.
Which in the ultra running world, we are still infants.
Yes.
Maybe we're past the newborn stage now.
Yeah.
And now we're like Travi's age.
No, I think we're more like a 5-year-old kid.
You think so?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm still like a 2 or 3 year old, honestly.
Well, I've
I think you're a
matured
little
more.
older than me in the ultra running world.
I think the first thing you need to realize with ultra running is you should expect setbacks.
Yeah.
Do not expect things to be linear.
And let's define setbacks. A setback can be a ton of different things. I feel like it could be you just had a baby, you're having kids. A setback could be an injury. It could be just life happens. It could be just a season in your life where you're not able to be as consistent or train as much. It could be burnout. Just anything that
it could be a bad race.
It could be a bad race. Yeah. Yeah.
The
anything
race didn't go as planned.
That I guess halts your linear progression. Anything where you feel like maybe you took a step back.
Yep. And so this is just a crazy sport to be in. So if you think you're just going to grow linearly, then you're in for a rude awakening.
That's not how it works.
It's not how it works at all. And so when this setback happens, here's what made me realize that ultra running isn't linear. I'll just say this first. All right. We ran our first 50 miler. Great. Finished it. Awesome. We ran our first 100. Great. Finished it. Awesome.
And I feel like it always starts out like you make a lot of progress.
It starts
really
off
fast.
very
and
linear.
It feels like that's how it will always be.
Yes. And then I ran my second 100. It went better than my first 100. And I ran it 4 hours quicker than my first 100. Mm-hmm. I was like, whoa.
And I had way more climbing.
Awesome. Yeah. Way more technical course, higher elevation course. And I did it all faster and it felt easier. And I was like, wow. And so then
you're like, I got it all figured out.
Yeah, I did. I was like, I'm really figuring this out. And so then I signed up for another 100. I'm like, I've got to knock another 4 hours off. That's what I thought. I said it here on the podcast. I wanted 32 hours. And then you can go back and listen to my Scout Mountain recap. It was much tougher than my second 100. Honestly, might have been tougher than my first 100.
Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah, very rough. So I could consider that a setback, even though I trained harder than I ever had before for my third 100. I came in more prepared.
Plan perfectly.
Yeah, I came in more prepared than I'd ever been before. I had more knowledge than I ever had before, and it didn't go as planned.
But guess what? That's ultra running, and that's life.
Yes.
That's how it goes.
Yeah. So that's when I started to realize, okay, this isn't linear. And so now we're moving forward here. You've had your setback of childbirth. You ran your first 100. Then you ran some 50s, some 50Ks after that. Mm-hmm. You were getting stronger. You were getting faster.
And honestly, when we decided it was time to start trying to have kids, it wasn't really a predicament. It wasn't really this predicament between, okay, am I going to do 100 or am I going to have a kid? I knew I wanted to have a kid. And at the same time, I was really bummed because I was like, I feel like I'm finally like mentally ready to do a 100-mile race. And so it's been hard having a kid because, I love our kid. It's been hard because I feel like I've mentally been in this place where I'm ready to do 100 for a long time, but my body's just not there yet.
Yeah. So you finally now have had the kid and your body is way back to where it used to be.
I'm in the worst shape I've ever been in my entire life right now. And that's a hard pill to swallow.
You had a lot of growth and then now you've dropped below your starting point.
Yeah.
Okay, So now what do we do where we're at now? So for me, currently, I had a calf injury that I sustained running on a stupid road, running at a pace that was faster than I should have been running.
Jacob is done with roads. I know we've said this a million times, but he's serious this time.
Every time I hit a road for longer than 10 miles, I have a setback or an injury. So, and I always run those roads at paces faster than I should go because it's a road and I want to get it over with. Or this time I was with a group, so I wanted to keep up with the group.
One of the cons of group running.
Yeah, one of the cons. So I, as you guys know, I wanted to sign up for a 100-miler in the last episode. I have not done that because I had this calf injury come up. I was very close to pulling a trigger on 100, and then this calf injury came up. As of right now, it doesn't look like 100 might not happen this year, but I got some plans. I'll announce it at the end of the episode anyways. Plans I do know about. So I've had this calf injury. So first thing you got to do when you experience these setbacks, a bad race, an injury, a surgery, whatever it may be, depression, you got to evaluate what went wrong.
What went wrong, or we talked about this before the podcast. I prefer instead of what went wrong, just think about what could you have done differently. Yep. Because in my case, I don't think I did anything wrong by having a kid, but I can look back at my pregnancy and think, okay, what could I have done throughout my pregnancy that would have better prepared me for after birth? And now that I've experienced it, I can look back and I know what I want to do different next time.
But in the progress of doing that, you also have to realize what you're dealing with, So I started feeling this weird tightness in my calf, like really tight. And
I see what you're saying.
And so I got a couple choices here. I could just do nothing and hope that it goes away.
And I think a lot of runners do that.
Yeah.
And my personal opinion, please don't do that. Don't just stop running and wait for the pain to go away and then just start running again. Most of the time that does not work. And a lot of the times that just makes your injury even worse.
Exactly. You could also run through it with some injuries, and there is a point that you can, you want to keep moving.
Listen to your body.
Yeah. Or you can, this is what I've learned, because just from past experience, if you're experiencing a setback, go get help immediately.
Don't wait.
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't wait around, even if you're like, I'm an idiot. It's just this weird niggle or whatever.
I can figure this out on my own, No, just go get help. Speed up the process.
Every time I've had a setback and I haven't gotten help, I've rarely been able to really fix the issue. And then
you go get
drag
help.
It out. Yeah.
And then you're like, why didn't I do this 2 months ago?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to me, if you're ultra running and you're having some issue that's putting you back, even if you don't want to hire a full-time coach, go pay a one-time fee somewhere, whether it's with a running coach, a physical therapist, a doctor, a counselor, whatever it is, so that you understand what you're dealing with, so they can help you understand.
Talk to someone, and it doesn't have to be someone that you have to pay either. Maybe you have a neighbor who's a physical therapist who wouldn't mind checking it out, or maybe you just
He's teaching us how to work the system.
We're ultra runners, most of us don't make a lot of money, right? Or talk, maybe instead of a counselor, maybe you have a safe friend or safe family member that you can talk to. But anyways, moral of the story, get help. Yep.
You got to evaluate what went wrong. So what have you been doing, or what are you, and doing differently? You said you already know what you're going to do differently next time you're pregnant, in order to help you get back quicker next time.
Well, I have a good example to go along with what we're talking about here. Right after I gave birth, I had plans to go do pelvic floor physical therapy, and very long story short, that did not end up happening. And I just figured, I'm a coach, I'm a personal trainer, I was a PTA, I can do it on my own. I can figure it out, and got a running coach, started going to the gym, and things just did not feel right. And I realized that I didn't know what I was doing and I needed help. And I finally went and saw a pelvic floor physical therapist. It has made all the difference. It has helped so much. And I wish that I would have just started pelvic floor physical therapy right after I gave birth. So that's one thing I'm going to do differently is I did do pelvic floor physical therapy before having a baby. I'm going to do that again. And then as soon as I can get in there and start it again, I'm going to do that again.
So if you would have started it right after, you feel like it could have helped you get back quicker.
Yeah, I think I could be a little bit ahead right now.
A little bit ahead. So I waited 2 weeks before I went and saw a physical therapist for my calf, because I was wondering if it would just resolve itself. No, it didn't, because as I ran more, the calf got tighter and tighter. And, I realized this is different. And I should have known it though from the beginning, because I ran 10 miles and then my calf felt like I had just run like a 50K and beat it to shreds after a 10-mile road run. So I should have known it right after that it was something a little more than just a tight calf. So I wish I would have just gone in immediately, or at least a week before, so then I could have started making a plan. That's what leads us to our next point here, is once you understand what you have, where you're at, you got to honor where you're at, not try to force your body to be just like, I'm just going to
force your body to heal. You can't force your body to make the adaptations it needs to make faster than your body's ready to. You just need to know, this is where I'm at. These are the facts.
Yep. You got to I went to my physical therapist and he's like, okay, how long until your calf starts hurting, like till the pain starts to amplify? And I was like, anywhere between 3 to 5 miles. He's like, well, I don't want you running any more than 3 to 5 miles right now.
And
that's hard to hear.
That's tough when you're used to running 20 miles every weekend.
Yeah, that's like no long runs.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's going to screw my training up.
Right.
And then he's like, and then I just want you adding on a mile at a time. I'm like, oh, that's going to take forever to add a mile at a time. That's like 10 weeks till I'm up to 15 miles,
But you got to honor that.
Yeah.
Like, that's the reality. And that's how you're going to get better.
Yep.
But then the thing is, you'll get there. You'll get to that point where you're running 20 miles on the weekends again. And it will feel like you got there so fast. Yep. You'll look back at this and it will feel like it just happened in a blink of an eye, even though right now it feels like a long time.
Yes. So I'm dealing with a calf strain. I didn't know if I made that clear or not. Just a mild one, though.
Yeah.
So then you got to accept that. It's hard. You accept it, but you just start moving forward. And that's when you make an attack plan on what you're going to do differently now.
Right.
So one of the reasons I got hurt is I talked about how I've been getting more consistent since baby came along in my last podcast, but I have not been as consistent with my strength training. And I think that played a role in me getting this calf strain. So
for sure.
And I knew better than that. Like, I knew better
get your strength training in, runners.
Not get all my strength training in. And so here's my calf giving me fits and putting me back in my training because I wasn't giving it proper care on the strength side. So right now I have to change that. I have to get in my strength workouts.
So you're getting in your strength, and then you're also doing what you just talked about, just managing your load and slowly adding more and more miles.
Yeah.
So there's your attack plan.
That's my attack plan right now.
For sure. Like we kind of said, we're going to intertwine our updates throughout these points. And we talked about, first of all, honoring where you're at. That has been my biggest lesson this month, honestly, the past year and a half. But it's been really, really hard to accept that I am in the worst shape of my life right now. And I understand, yes, my body did this amazing thing. I had a baby. It's honorable and beautiful. And, and all those things are true. It still doesn't make what I'm going through right now, doesn't make it easy. It's hard. And I just have had a really hard time realizing okay, these are the numbers. These are my paces. This is my weight. This is what my body can handle right now. I just had a talk with my coach this last week, and I just talked to her about how I'm struggling and how this is hard. And what she pointed out to me, and this is just so typical of me, and I'm sure a ton of you guys can relate, but she's like, what I see is happening, she said, I see that you're pushing really, really hard and then you burn out and you have to take a couple of days off. Then you push really, really hard and then you burn out and you get sick. You push really hard and she's like, what I need to see is she's like, we need more consistency. She said, right now we need to focus on the bare minimum. And what she's been doing for me is she gives me a range. We're going to run for this many minutes to this many minutes. And she's made the plan very flexible because postpartum, hormones, breastfeeding. Also, we never know how we're going to sleep the night before. So it's a pretty flexible plan. But she said the goal is to do the bare minimum, like the low end of the range every single day. And she's like, if you feel good, then do more. But she's like, the goal is to just do the bare minimum every single day and to be consistent. And that, it makes sense, right? That's what I tell my athletes. It's always so much different when it's yourself. I feel like it's a lot harder to evaluate yourself and be honest with yourself, right? Anyways, I guess that was hard for me to hear because I felt like I wasn't pushing that hard. My hard days would have been half of my easy day before I got pregnant. And that's just really hard to accept that this is what I can handle right now. But like my coach pointed out, I was pushing too hard and I kept burning out, and I kept getting sick, and I'm slowing down my progress. So that's why we need to honor where we're at, because if we don't, if we try to force our bodies to do something that they're not ready to do, that's not going to help us. It's only going to slow us down. So we need to honor where we're at, not even accept it, but honor it, embrace where we're at, and then slowly make the changes that you need to make. And then, like what I told you, you need to remember that you'll eventually get there, and then you'll look back and it will feel like it happened so fast, even though it feels slow in the moment. And I actually just read this book called The Running Dream. I'll put it in the show notes, but it's a tween book, but it's the story of a girl. I believe it's a true story. I'm not 100% sure, but it's a story of the 16-year-old girl who gets in a car crash, loses a leg, and she was a big track runner. And it's her story of losing her leg, getting a new limb, and learning how to run again. And at the end of this book, she's like, and it took me 8 months. And if you think about it, 8 months is not a long time to go from losing a limb to running again. And for me, I guess I'm just comparing it to, okay, I have a baby, and what if maybe it takes me 6, 7, 8, 9 months, maybe it takes me a year. That seems like a long time, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not that long, and you can always get back. And another thing that I brought to Jacob at the beginning of this podcast, when we're talking about setbacks, I asked him, I was like, are these setbacks really step backs, or are they actually step forwards? A step forward. You know what I mean? Because we learn and we grow through these experiences. They're hard, but we learn through them, and they make you stronger. And I've heard so many moms, sorry, I know that I'm totally monologuing right now, but I have a lot to say. But I know so many moms who are like, I'm so much stronger now. Ever since I've had kids, I'm so much stronger. And I was so excited for that. And in my head, I was like, I'm going to have a kid, and then I'm just going to be like stronger, because that's what everybody says. And I'm not. I'm weaker. But I'm starting to understand how moms get stronger, because this is a hard thing, and you just learn and grow through the process. And I am excited to get to a point where I was before, and then to get even stronger, because this process is going to make me stronger. And anyways, this isn't about me.
Yeah, it is.
I'm not trying to make it about me. I'm just hoping that other listeners can relate to this, and whatever your setback is, whether it's kids or an injury, just know that this is going to make you stronger. Also, I want you to feel validated in what you're going through, because it's hard to have a setback. It's hard to go through surgery. It's hard to have something that you love taken away from you. If running and working out, if that's your thing, and you're injured or you're postpartum, and you can't do that anymore, that is hard. And I just want to, anyone who's listening, I just want to validate that. What you're going through is hard, and you're going to have your ups and downs, but I promise you, you'll get through it, and you'll be stronger because of it.
Wow. I think that's some good insight right there. Agreed 100%. So
sorry if I kind of got off track.
No,
there.
That was great. That was great. You have to honor where you are, and
make a plan and stick to it.
You realize you're not going to be there forever.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's start making a plan. You're not going to start off where you want to be at all, but you'll eventually get there.
Yeah. And don't let it discourage you. If you let it discourage you, then you won't be able to get back to where you were. Don't let that slow you down.
Yeah.
Just know you'll get there.
I like how you say setback is a step forward, because it makes me think about my Scout Mountain experience, where I had a bad race, didn't even come close to my goal. But then I've been able to evaluate it since, and I recently figured out from talking with a nutritionist during a podcast episode, which will be released here in about a month, that my stomach, I think, is more sensitive to those
artificial sweeteners.
Like the stevia And that's probably what caused me to have all that diarrhea.
Your stomach is sensitive to a lot of things. I
Yeah.
think you have an extra sensitive stomach.
Yeah, exactly. And so that caused me to have all that issues, but now I'm figuring it out. I'm also decided that I'm going to go with a low carb approach. I'm starting tomorrow, the day of, as of this recording. So February 26th.
He's working with Mike McKnight. Reached
Yeah.
out to him and is being coached by him.
Yeah, I reached out and, well, kind of coached. I have a consultation with Mike McKnight and he gave me his tips and everything. And I'm going to be now changing my whole nutrition approach because of how sensitive my stomach seems to be to all the normal approaches. And it doesn't seem to work for me.
We'll see if this low carb thing works.
Yeah, so I'm going to try this. And if it does work, it's going to, first off, help me with to live just a healthier, better lifestyle. Cause I don't know how many times I just go around feeling bloated or just not feeling great.
Right.
So hopefully just helping me feel better about myself and my energy levels. And then also hopefully helps me enjoy my running more. So I'm not dealing with stomach issues on every long run that I go on.
And honestly, your training has been so good. Like you have very good fitness, and is that proper grammar? I don't know. Anyways, I feel like once you get the gut issues down, I think you're going to be a monster, babe. I'm really excited to see what you're going to do.
So it's going to be fun. Well, it'll be
and
hard.
It's going to be fun and hard.
But
Jake, like we said at the beginning of this podcast, it's Jacob's birthday. Yep. We're going to be celebrating it this weekend. He's starting his low carb approach. So that means no birthday cake. We're going to have to find, or I don't know, maybe there's some kind of keto. But anyways, we'll figure it out. But we're going to have to make adjustments to our lifestyle, and it's going to be hard. But
yep, it's going to be hard. And Mike McKnight was telling me the first 6 weeks, you're going to feel like you're dragging. And so it's going to be slow, but hopefully it all pays off in the end.
I think this is fun. I want you to keep us all updated on your low carb journey.
Yeah. So I am excited about it and to see how it goes. Because some of the stuff he told me that you're doing, I'm just like, whoa, that's going to be hard. He's basically said no calories on any runs 2 hours or under right now. Ooh, I've gotten used to eating on my runs. That's going to be hard. I'm going to be dragging.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
another reason we didn't pull the trigger on that 100-mile race.
And so, so you could say I'm taking a step back because another reason I'm not pulling the trigger on a 100-mile race, I want to get my body more fat adapted before I attack another 100. I'm making a plan, and then I'm also making a plan to get back to my strength and to get back on.
But it's a step back, so you can take 2 steps forward.
Exactly.
It's going to make you a stronger runner in the long run, hopefully.
Exactly. Patience, right? JJ Goodrich, former guest of the podcast, said that patience is mental toughness in disguise.
Yeah. Oh, it's so true. It's so true.
That's been a phrase that we've been talking about a lot lately. So you gotta be patient with yourself, but as you are though working your way back after a setback, you need to make sure you're doing regular check-ins.
Check in with yourself.
Yeah.
I would say at least once a week, sit down and just reflect on your week. Think about, okay, what did I do well? What do I need to work on? And refocus. You need to remind yourself, what is your focus? You also need to remind yourself, what is your why? Why are you doing what you're doing? And get back on track, because it's really easy to get derailed. If you're on YouTube, Jacob is holding Travi.
So you might hear those little baby noises.
He woke up from his nap in the middle of this podcast. So
yeah. Anyways, so yeah, because you've had to do regular check-ins because you made a plan about your nutrition. And I'm
glad that you brought this up.
You've had to have a check-in and make adjustments.
Yeah. So this is what I've done. At the beginning of this year, I made a list of my goals, my physical goals, my mental goals, my spiritual goals, my work goals, and my social goals. And once a week, I usually do this when I'm sitting in church. I go over my goals and I think about the week and I refocus. And, anyways, one of my goals for this year is to improve my relationship with food and eat nutritious food 80% of the time, the 80-20 rule. And I talked about, was it in our last podcast? Which podcast was it?
I think it was, yeah.
Okay, I talked about how I made a meal plan for myself. We did an interview with a couple nutritionists that, like Jacob said, they'll be coming out here in the next month or so, and they really motivated me. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to make a meal plan. I'm going to figure out my food. And I bought all these books about macros, and I made myself a meal plan, a very strict meal plan. And I followed it religiously / perfectly for 3 weeks. And towards the end of the 3 weeks, I started to not feel good. I started to feel really overwhelmed. And I will say, when I started making this meal plan, I had this feeling in my gut immediately that this isn't a good idea. But I overrided that feeling and I just thought, no, like mental toughness, discipline, like I'm gonna do this. And anyways, I started to just feel really overwhelmed. This week was a particularly hard week, and I called my running coach. You guys, I know that I am slightly biased, but I think a running coach is so incredibly helpful. So helpful. Anyways, so I called my running coach and talked about it. And she basically told me, she's like, I think you've overcommitted. She's like, it's great that you made this commitment to this meal plan and that you want to stick to this commitment. But she's like, but why would you keep doing it if it doesn't work? It's the analogy that Jacob and I bring up all the time, like hitting your head on a brick wall. It's like, well, why are you going to hit your head on a brick wall and say like, look how tough I am? All it's doing is hurting you. It's not doing anything. You don't have anything to prove to anyone. And she's like, if it's not working, you don't need to keep doing it. And she basically was like, I give you permission to stop following this meal plan. And all of a sudden I just felt this weight like lift off my shoulders. And I was like, you're right. And I'm not stopping the meal plan, but I just readjusted and I've loosened it up a lot, and I've readjusted my nutrition
Your boundaries
plan, my boundaries. Yeah. So I'm still following a plan, but I'm changing my plan every week. So I'm not just eating the same thing. And because my goal is 80-20, I've structured it in a way that 20% of the time I can still, go out to eat. I can still have treats. And anyways, I won't get into it, but I did have to kind of refocus, remind myself what my goals really are, and adjust my plan.
Yeah. So, and that's how you deal with a setback. Like, you have to be flexible to a point. Like, you have to check in. What's working? What's not? Okay, this isn't working. How do I change it so that it now does start to work?
Yeah, and I also want to say, like, if you're like me, or if you feel like, oh, but like I made this commitment, I promised myself I'd do this, or I promised so and so that I'd do this. It doesn't mean you have to quit. Just adjust. Or maybe you do quit and then you try something else, but maybe you quit because it's not working for you. Why are you going to keep doing something that's not working?
Well, quitting is, are you quitting on the goal, or are you quitting?
Maybe quitting isn't the right word.
I don't think quitting is the right word.
You're rerouting. You're rerouting.
Yeah,
quitting
means you're quitting on the goal. You still have the same goal. You're just figuring rerouting out a better route.
And I have to say, again, not trying to make this about me, I hope that I'm like relating to other people. I know that I am. I know that the things that I'm struggling with and that you're struggling with are not like really unique. I know that everybody struggles with these things, with injuries and, I know, overcommitting and rerouting, and this is all normal stuff. But I'm really proud of myself because I feel like I've done this a lot where I overcommit to something and I put way too many things on my plate and I feel super overwhelmed, and then I kind of crash and burn, and then I just like I do quit. I do give up. I feel like this time around, I feel like I was really close to just completely giving up and just not even thinking about food anymore after only 3 weeks. But I feel like I navigated this situation a lot more smoother than I have in the past. Instead of just giving up, I talked to someone, I felt my feelings, and I rerouted instead of just giving up.
Yeah, and that's exactly how you get places.
Right.
You gotta switch on to a better on ramp,
Mm-hmm.
a better road. Yeah, if this road's not going to take you, so let's say that last nutrition plan wasn't going to take you to where you wanted to get. Why would you stay on it?
Yes. Okay.
So you got to get on a
great
road.
Analogy.
You got to get on a road where it will take you where you want to go.
Exactly.
You know, so you saw like, oh, this road starts me, but then it veers off.
Well, and that's another good point is in the 3 weeks that I stuck to that meal plan, I learned so much in those 3 weeks. I learned so much about my body. I learned so much from reading the books that I was reading. It was a great lesson. And honestly, the biggest lesson was this lesson of rerouting. It's okay, even though I told myself I'm going to stick to this meal plan no matter what. My coach gave me permission to reroute. She's like, you don't have to do this. And you don't always need permission from other people. Sometimes that's what you need. But I think the goal is to get to a point where you just learn to trust yourself and do what's best for you, no matter what other people think.
Yeah. So that's why you got to have, long story short, regular check-ins to make sure that the path you're on is going to get you to the end goal that you want.
Right.
All right. That was our top tips or our experiences.
So let's read them one more time.
So here's what we view as the dealing with the setbacks steps. Dealing with setbacks. All right. So first off, you should expect setbacks to happen. You should not expect linear progression. You will have progression, but then progression will stop and you'll take a drop. And when that does happen, you need to evaluate what went wrong.
Or just think about what you could have done differently.
Yeah. What got you there? What led to you being in that spot?
Yeah.
What led to the digression in your running progress? Then you got to figure out what you exactly have. And so that's where we talk about do research, see a professional, understand what you're dealing with.
Understand the problem.
Yep.
Yeah.
And once you understand it, you need to accept or, as you like to say, honor where you're at.
Honor where you're at.
Don't try to force it. Don't try to pretend that if you just don't acknowledge it, that it will go away.
Don't pretend you're better or worse than you are. Like, this is the reality.
This is where you're at right now. And once you realize where you're at, then you can make a plan and implement the changes so that you can come back stronger and better.
Exactly. And then regular check-ins.
Yep.
Make that goal, make the action plan, and then check in with yourself so you can stay focused.
Don't be so married to the plan that it actually is detrimental.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Be ready to adjust it.
Exactly.
Well, guys, thank you for joining us today. Oh, yeah. I said I would announce my running plans at the end.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
All right. As of right now, similar to before, I'm going to be running some 50Ks and a 50 miler. I'm going to do the 50 miler in May, I've decided.
Okay, that's good to know. Jacob's just telling me now, so I'll change that in your plan.
I think it's got like 15,000 feet of vert or something, so it's pretty extreme 50 miler. I got 50K in April. I got another extreme 50K in June.
See, you got some good goals, babe. Even if you don't do 100 this year, like this is going to prepare you for your next 100.
Yeah, and I got the turkey trot in November, which is another really tough. So a lot of vert coming in soon.
And they're all ultras. They're all ultra races.
So I'm going to do those this year. And then next year, I'm putting in for Leadville.
He already has a group of guys.
I have a group that I'm putting in with. So if you want to do Leadville, guys, do it next year. Hopefully we can meet. So fingers crossed that I get in there. And then on top of that, in March of next year, I want to do the Buffalo 100.
All right.
Which is a flatter 100 out here. And it's really close to our house out on Antelope Island, probably just like a 40-minute drive to the start line.
We are really blessed in Utah.
And it's a 100-mile race that's pretty flat. I think it's only got 6,000 feet of vert.
That'll be great training for Leadville.
And so it will help me get the speed part down in preparation for Leadville.
That sounds great.
Of getting the feel of what a faster 100 would feel like.
So are you feeling better about things? Because I know our last podcast, you were feeling pretty ticked about not doing 100 this year.
It still really hurts. I'm not going to lie, Mel.
Really?
It hurts to say I'm not doing 100.
Really?
And it still doesn't feel quite right, to be straight up.
So I don't know, maybe something will still come up.
But I don't know. See. Yeah. I don't know. I just don't see with my plans where I could fit in 100 right now.
Well, maybe that's a lesson in and of itself. Like sometimes that's life.
Yep.
Things don't always go according to plan. Yeah.
But when you just... I don't like it when you tell me to accept not doing 100, because I don't want people to tell me not to do 100.
I'm not telling you to not do.
I know you're not.
I'm literally trying to like comfort you. I'm trying to make you feel better.
Well, I don't want to.
And I'm like, what is the lesson in this? You know,
I want to do 100, but it just doesn't quite. I haven't been able to get 100 lined up with my schedule and with my life. So
we'll see what happens.
Hopefully
maybe something pops up.
Hopefully I can get 2 in.
But also something that I told Jacob, I said, talking to you as your coach, not as your wife, I feel like you have a lot of goals this year. I had all my athletes send me what their goals are for this year. I hope you don't mind me sharing this. I'm sharing it anyways. But Jacob said that he wants to PR in the turkey trot, and then he wants to podium in one of the Tooele Trail Racing 50Ks, and then you want to do this new 50 miler, and you want to run 100,
and I'm changing my nutrition,
and I'm like, Jacob, we need to like narrow things down. Like we can't I mean, if all of these happen, like awesome, that would be an awesome year. But also we do have a 4-month-old. This is our first year with our first kid. We need to remember that. Now you're working on your nutrition. And what I typically tell people is to have one big A goal or one big A race, maybe a couple of B goals, but one big thing to focus on instead of all of these. We got to focus on one thing at a time. And so we got to narrow things down a little bit.
Okay.
I still feel like your goals for the year are kind of all over the place.
We'll see. Honestly, I guess top priority should be getting my nutrition right now and getting my calf back to health.
Yeah. And it's not like you're never going to run 100 again. Even if you don't run one this year, like the ultimate goal, everything that we're doing this year is so you can run hundreds. Mm-hmm. That still is the ultimate goal, right?
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to get my speed up so that I can be ready for Leadville next year.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, everybody, thank you for joining us. Melody, thank you for rubbing salt in the wound that I'm not running 100.
I was just trying to help. I'm sorry.
No, but thank you for sharing and being open about your thoughts with dealing with setbacks. I think what you shared is very needed, as we are all at some point going to be dealing with a setback in our training plan to where we're not going to be where we want to be.
That's just how it goes. Yeah.
Remember to check out the website, guys, trail100.com. We have been sharing write-ups from each one of our guests where we ask them some pretty profound questions about their ultra running experiences and what they've learned and what advice they have for first-time ultra runners.
So if you want even more stories, even more goal tips, go to our website, check out their write-ups. We also, if you want to learn more about coaching, we have all of the information on our website. You can also contact us through the website, trail100.com. We also have some fun swag up. We have t-shirts. We have running buffs from Switchback. We have some stickers. We're currently working on some more swag items. And we also are working on some other really fun projects that are going to go up on the website. Just keep your eyes open, keep listening to the podcast, and we'll announce those coming up here. But yeah, lots of fun stuff on the website. So make sure that you're checking it out.
Thank you for joining us. And remember, if you want to run 100 miles,
Make it happen.